Anything is possible. I'll say it again over and over.
I've always known that I was going to be successful. Not for one second did I ever doubt myself.
2016 is going to be a massive year. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm excited to get this year started.
I was thinking earlier to myself, I set a goal, and I actually will show you in a bit. I wrote a 5-year plan for myself. And it's easy for someone to look at that 5-year plan and call it unrealistic. Yeah. So let me get to the list. I will write a book. I will continuously move forward and not focus on results, focus on forward movement and making progress.
Hey everyone, and welcome to what's going to be quite an incredible journey for the next 698 days. Now, for those of you who haven't had me on social media, or you don't know what the significance of 698 really means, particularly today, I have been counting down ever since I was 17 years old to my 25th birthday. And the reason I've been counting it down is because when I was 17, I sat both my parents down after we had went through a very difficult financial phase, you could put it, and I said to them, this is what life is going to look like by the time I'm 25 years old. And I painted a vision for them. This is a vision that I had when I was 17 years old. I sat them down. I told both my mum and my dad, Mum and Dad, if God blesses us and we're all still here by my 25th birthday, this is what our lifestyle is going to look like. This is what you guys are going to be doing. This is the amount of money we're going to have, and this is what we're going to be doing with the wealth that we're going to build. And ever since that day, there has been nothing else which I have been focused on except accomplishing that dream, except delivering on my promises. I'll leave it in the universe's hand and God's hand. Anything is possible. I'll say it again over and over. Let's fucking do this. And up until this point, I've been quite active on my social medias in terms of Facebook and Instagram, and I've never really considered pushing content out on YouTube, but I don't know why, I've just recently felt like it's time, and it's time for me to actually put it out there and to have you guys really tag along for the journey and to put my foot down and make it public and say, hey, this is what I'm working towards. Come and join me. Come and see how I'm doing it. Come and see what I'm doing. Come and see me either succeed and come and see me potentially fail. Let's face it, I can't predict what the future is going to look like. As confident as I am as to whether my vision and my dreams are going to come true, I can't predict it. I can't predict that I'm going to do it, at least in the time frame. It's such a short amount of time when I've got such a ridiculously big goal.
I've always told myself, and I've always known that I'm destined for success. And I know how cocky and stupid that sounds, but I've convinced myself of this. Because I've convinced myself of this, I'm not scared to take necessary risks when it comes to my business, because I've got absolute certainty that in myself and everything that I know and the type of person that I am, that I'll be successful.
Now, I'm not going to get into the details and the exact details as to what those goals are in this video at least, but I am going to mention it as we continue on in the journey. So if you want to know what that is, make sure to subscribe, make sure to turn on the notifications for these videos, and just tag along for the journey, and I'm going to share it as time goes on. Now, I figured for us to really move forward and for me to actually start documenting the journey for the next 698 days until my 25th birthday, the day which I've set as a deadline for me to accomplish those dreams I promised my family, it's best if I bring you up to scratch to what the past 5 years have looked like. So I'm going to take you all the way back to when I was 17 and try my best to talk to you about what the past 5 years have been like. So let's take it back to 17 years old. After I sat my parents down and I had this very emotional, powerful conversation with them as to what I was going to do for them by the time I'm 25, I immediately got to work. I was studying very hard at the time, and I ended up doing really well in school, and I got into engineering, and I made my parents very proud. But while I was at university, I kind of figured that since I had set such a short timeline on achieving massive goals, engineering and going the normal route wasn't going to cut it for me. I had to find a way to do it which was going to be quicker.
But I want it now!
Because I was willing to do whatever it took. So if it meant I had to put in extra hours, that's fine. But no matter how many extra hours I put in, I wasn't going to really finish my degree that much sooner. I wasn't going to get a job that was going to pay me high enough, and I wasn't going to be able to achieve that goal by 25. So I started to look at different ways to make this happen, and then eventually I stumbled across business, or the idea of business. So I started looking at ways to make money online. I ended up getting into buying and selling on Gumtree. I did quite well. I made like $150, and then I had one bad experience where I went to a really shady area that kind of traumatized me from buying and selling again. And so I stopped buying and selling on these platforms, but I was still interested in the whole buying a product and then selling it for a marked up price. And I stumbled across eBay. You know, I'm researching here, and people are saying, you know, you can sell things and make money on eBay. So I started an eBay store. I had around $750 in my account at the time. I was around 18 years old, and I bought 100 iPhone cases at $7 each. Now, that was my first big mistake that I made because I wasn't actually being patient enough to get them at 30 cents a pop by actually going overseas. You know, I was using Alibaba at the time, which wasn't as trustworthy as it is right now. And at the time, I wasn't patient enough to wait 6 weeks to receive my products. I wanted them right away. So I found a local supplier here in Melbourne, and I bought 100 iPhone cases for $7. Whereas if I had found someone good overseas, I would have probably got them at 30 cents each. So big mistake made right there, and I had to pay for my impatience. And the way I paid for it was with the $700 I invested. In other words, I made no money.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
It just wasn't working out for me. I got so desperate at one point, I actually bought the product for myself, right? Just so I can get the notification on my phone which goes cha-ching, someone purchased your order, because you used to get this notification, it used to sound awesome. So I did it just to feel good. And the worst thing about that was I bought the iPhone case for $30 from myself, and by the time eBay and PayPal took their fees, I actually lost money. Which is just hilarious. It's so funny. It actually, looking back, makes me laugh so much as to the things I used to do just to kind of keep myself mentally going. Anyways, after that, I kind of figured that I wasn't really a big fan of starting businesses in the product space, so selling products online. And I was more a services type person. So I started looking for a way to make money while providing a service, all while studying full-time at university at this stage. So when I was around 19, I ended up starting private tutoring. So I would tutor students one-on-one. They pay me for that hour. I liked it. I was my own boss. I was scheduling my own hours. I was charging my rates, and I could take on as many students as I liked, and I could cancel whenever I liked. I liked that flexibility. I was kind of slowly becoming my own boss. And then after I did that, I was looking at a way to actually take on more students. And so one of my friends at university pointed out to me that you can get it by advertising yourself online, or you could actually join a tutoring agency that will find students for you. And the catch is they'll take a commission percentage cut off your hourly rate every single time you actually conduct a lesson. So that night I actually ended up going and researching a whole bunch of tutoring agencies on Google, and instead of joining one, I ended up deciding I was going to start my own. And the reason why I was always just starting ideas was because I was kind of fearless with my money. You know, I would make some money and I'd be willing to spend it all. And my mindset was always, I don't worry about losing $2,000, $3,000, $10,000, $15,000 now, because I'm so confident and I'm determined to become a millionaire one day. So I'm eventually going to make that money back. So whenever I'd have an idea, I'd just go for it. And I'm willing to take the risk. So I went for it. I didn't know how I was going to do it. No idea. I had no guidance. I had no financial assistance from anyone. I had no business mentors at the time. Anyone that helped me start the business up and get it off the ground. Nothing. All I had was the books that I was reading and the people that I was watching online. But I just got started, and really one thing led to another. One step at a time led to doors opening, and I ended up launching the business with 10 shooters in the team, had a full-blown website, a logo, business cards, a full Facebook page, and I had hyped the crap out of the business, and we launched online. Go for it. Hey guys, welcome to the first video of LGT Tutoring. There was so much support because I had kind of brought people along the journey to starting up the business, and I was bold enough to do that as well. And then when we launched, the support was amazing, but a whole week went by and we got no students. I was quite demotivated because I was upset and very worried that I invested all this time, all this money. At this stage, by the way, because I had no one to help me financially, not only did I use all the money in my savings account, I had to go to the bank to get more money via credit cards and loans. I was just willing to do whatever it took at the stage. Now it's definitely paid off and it's paid its dividends, but at the time I was just willing to go as far as I needed, and so I actually was getting loans from the bank to make sure that this dream came true. So I was putting my money where my mouth was, and so for us not to get any students was very concerning. A week after that, we got our first student and we made our first dollar in business, and I will never forget that moment. I will never ever forget the moment sitting in my bed, laying down. It was around 10:15, 10:20 at night. I was about to go to sleep because I was sleeping and waking up at 4 o'clock every morning. So I would sleep around 10:30. And I received a notification on my phone from PayPal, and we had made our first dollar in business. I got up out of bed, I ran downstairs, I hugged my parents, I told them my business made its first dollar, and I just can't express to you the feelings of happiness that I was experiencing. It was absolute euphoria. I have still, till this day, never experienced a feeling like that. You know, it was just the most amazing thing in the world. I just couldn't get over the fact that I had an idea in my head, and I took this idea and I made it real, and this idea that I made real has now generated money from like nothing. Even though it had made me my money back after we made our first dollar, it still was just the biggest confidence booster you could ever imagine. And from that day forward, we started getting more inquiries, and I would go out of my way. I would actually visit these family homes, and parents would be so comfortable with me, they would actually buy up to 10 hours up front, 20 hours. And then I had a parent who purchased 40 hours worth of tutoring all up front. It was for almost an entire year. And the business started making money. We started getting cash flow, we started getting money in the bank, and it continued to grow, and it continued to grow, and it continued to grow. Now, by the way, all this is happening while I'm still studying full-time at university. My family really wanted me to finish my engineering degree, but now I'm getting to a stage where I'm falling deeper in love with business, and the deeper I fall in love with business, the more it becomes very clear that I'm never going to be working for anyone ever again, and any idea of a 9-to-5 job was just out of the question. So I really want to paint a picture here for the journey of this business, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a timeline for the main events that occurred. So 2015, mid-2015 in June, I launched the business. I kept operating the business while I was full-time at university until the end of 2016. End of 2016, I decided that 2017 I was going to take an entire year off, and it took a lot of convincing of my family to do this, but I took an entire year off to go as hard as I can in the business. By this stage, we had around 50 tutors part of the team. By the end of 2017, we had grown the team to 130 tutors around Melbourne. And it was quite a good year. Had quite a good year that year, but that year I started facing some struggles. I started noticing some issues in the business which I didn't anticipate before. One of the main issues is that it goes through phases where it makes no money at all. There's months in the year where it's just generating no revenue. And I'm stuck using my savings to pay for my personal expenses during those times and the expenses of the business. And it was just killing me. It was really killing me. So my mind started to come to the reality that I would eventually have to start another business that was generating revenue 12 months in the year and had a better business model than the business I was running currently at that time, especially when it was my only source of income, because I refused to work for anyone. I refused to get a job. I refused to work part-time. I haven't had a job since I was 18 years old. I haven't had a job, and I've refused to get one. And maybe in hindsight, it could have helped me during those tough times, but not getting a job and sticking by that strict principle is probably why I've gotten to where I am today. So let's go back in terms of the timeline. Launched mid-2015. By the end of 2016, we had 50 tutors. By the end of 2017, we had 130 tutors. And then within 4 months from the end of 2017 to around March 2018, we expanded nationally to Sydney and to Brisbane, and we grew the team to 450 tutors within the company. And that was insane growth. And I was quite excited. I was really excited because I knew that if we had kept growing that way, we were on track to being one of the largest tutoring agencies in Australia. Now, by this stage, I've got employees, I've got people running the business from the back end, I've got a salesperson taking all the calls, and I'm just focused on growing the business. And so I had a lot more overhead expenses and a lot more things to pay for during times where we were making no money. But in either case, we still powered ahead, started 2018 school year with 450 tutors part of the team, but then we got hit with a massive issue. We were relying on one avenue to generate leads, and that was Google AdWords. And so we would pay for ads on Google, people would click on our ads, and then eventually, out of every $5 or $6 we would be spending, we'd get a lead. Now that was very profitable, and it was very easy for us to grow our business that way. But for some reason, starting 2018, every other tutoring agency decided they wanted to go on Google AdWords as well. And what that did was it skyrocketed the cost per click for us by 500%. So if we were spending $2,000 a month and generating X amount of leads, we now had to spend $10,000 a month to generate the same amount of leads. And so our expenses just for our advertising were 5x what they were before. And I was not able to sustain that. And it just wasn't profitable anymore to even be spending any money on Google AdWords. So we had to cut that. And by cutting that, we cut our main source of lead generation. It was generating over 90% of our leads. And that also cut our growth. We were no longer able to get on more tutors, and we were having issues because we weren't able to give our current tutors students. Okay. What a journey, huh? It's insane. Just talking about it's gonna make my head explode. So, what did I do in 2018? I started to think to myself, I've definitely got to think of another business that's going to generate revenue to firstly help this business survive, but to also help me survive, because the tutoring was my sole income. And so when the tutoring business was hit, I was hit personally. And it was a very difficult year. It was a very difficult year. For the first 6 months of that year was extremely difficult. Now at that time, in that first 6 months, knowing what was going on and that we were really going to struggle, I just started pushing other things. I was working on other things just to kind of make sure that long term I'd save myself from an absolute disaster. And so what I was working on was my personal brand. So I was working on a book for myself and an online business startup course. So I had put together an online startup course which went for 3 hours, and I actually put it up on a platform called Udemy. And then I was also working on a book which I was planning on publishing one day. And the book was called The First Step, and it helps people take their first step into business. Now, 6 months in, so now we're mid-2018, I was doing okay from the tutoring business. It was paying some bills, but it wasn't giving me that massive success which I was going for. I didn't just want to get by, I wanted to be doing extremely well, or I wanted to be in a business which would actually have insane projections. I could actually see it working out really well. And at this point, the tutoring business was starting to slowly show signs of struggle. So I decided I was going to launch my book that year. I was going to launch this business course, and then I was going to start a new business, and the new business I was going to start would be a digital agency. I had already developed the skills that I needed by running the tutoring agency to actually do well in a digital business. I learned how to develop websites, I learned how to do SEO, I learned how to do Google AdWords, I learned how to do Facebook and Instagram marketing. I had been exposed to the digital world in a basic sense, and all I needed to do was really educate myself deeper, but it was something that I was already familiar with. And so that's what I did. I began educating myself deeper. I began talking to other people in the digital world. And so I went into obsessive mode, trying to learn the ins and outs of how to establish digital and online presence for businesses. Then, if I'm not wrong, towards the start of September, I published my book. I self-published the book, it's over here. I was writing an hour almost every single morning for an entire year. And the last 3 months before this book was published, I was doing around 3 to 4 hours a day of writing. And it drained my life, to say the least. No one wanted to publish the book. I didn't really have the contacts for it, so I put up my money, as I always do, and I got myself self-published. And I put it out there for the world. Ended up doing a book launch at the start of December, which was one of the best nights of my life. People showed up and they showed out.
Despite all the resistance I received in the process of doing that, and all the doubt and everything that comes with it, it's here today. And when I look around and I see every single one of you, all your faces looking back at me smiling, I know that it was for something.
And I started the digital agency, ended up getting my first client at around September as well, at the same time. And since that day, it's been all in focus on the digital business. And at the start of 2019, so now this is 4 months ago, moved into my own office, which is fucking amazing because I've been working from home this whole time. Got my first employee for the digital business. That's not even including the people we've got working in the tutoring agency. And he's an absolute animal. His name is Waleed. And of course, I'm going to be showing him more in more videos. And now we're on the journey of growing this digital business. Now, just so you guys have a clear understanding of what is going to be expected moving forward. The digital agency operates this way. We provide around 3 main services: web development, Google presence, establishing, so this is SEO work, getting people ranked highly on Google, and social media marketing. But web development and SEO are my 2 favorite things to do. We do social media marketing for select businesses. The way the business works is we take on a client, and when we take on a client, they pay us monthly. And so the way we make more money is by bringing on more clients who are willing to pay us on a monthly basis to manage their online presence. And this is a high ticket business. So when businesses come and they contract us, they pay us quite a significant amount every single month. So we don't need a whole bunch of clients to be doing well, but regardless, my goal is always to scale. Right now, we've definitely started 2019 very strong. I spent the first 3 months really establishing the foundations, really establishing the systems, and now we're ready to scale. I can see it. The business that I'm in right now, when it scales, it's going to scale in such a massive way that everything is going to change. But I do understand that it's not going to be easy. In fact, right now the goal is looking quite impossible to achieve. But that's how I've always operated. You know, I haven't had much given to me. I haven't gotten a lot of help financially. The only thing I've really had is a dream. And so I'm going after my dream. And this is the whole point for this countdown. Today marks 698 days until my 25th birthday. 698 days until I find out whether I've done enough to look my parents in the eye and say that I was a man of my word and I delivered on my promises. The great thing about how life works is that eventually everything is going to start falling into place. And I know that things are going to start to slowly fall into place. I didn't get the direct benefits from my book launch back then, but I'm seeing them now. I didn't get the direct benefits from when I launched my online business course back when I did it, but I am now. I didn't see the direct benefit of starting a digital agency when I started it, but I definitely am now. And the great thing about it is that even with the tutoring business, starting this digital agency has benefited it massively. And I can actually see them both growing quite quickly and quite strongly at the exact same time. And if they do this, how I envision, my dream's gonna come true. So welcome along to the journey again. If you've watched this far, thank you so much. I love you so much. Don't forget to subscribe, give a thumbs up, to turn on your post notifications, and to stay tuned for the next episode. The countdown has well and truly started, but let's see if we're gonna make it happen. Take care.